of the concerns that we have had. And first I put this cool diagram of high flex. So high flex means that you can come to class however you want or not, whatever works best for you. Between quarantines and sick family members and jobs changing and all of the things that I know you all face, I always make my classes high flex. But of course, the university won't make that an official designation because apparently they're trying to drive me insane. And now they have, when you see your registration for spring, they're going to have like 700 different delivery modes with weird letters that make no sense whatsoever. But they haven't added this particular one that I find useful. So I, combined with the fact that I try to make the class high flex, and now I'm using ultra, and I also have these unconventional methods, including the fact that you do have some choice in most of the assignments. I know that it seems a little crazy at the moment. So I made this list that if you care to stick to the list and stick with the person that I assigned you, you can. If you don't want to, just send me an email. As I said, sometimes people just prefer to have someone assigned because either there's too many choices or you're not sure which of the choices you most enjoy. So I just made it based on the list that we had for the Who Am I assignment. And let me just make sure, does anyone have questions about the list of due dates that I made, which overrides Blackboard? I printed it out on some paper. Also, if anyone's on campus and wants to come to campus and meet with me, you can always make an appointment, or I can leave a paper copy of this list for you somewhere. But I made a printout of the assignment checklist. And I also have to check on it. So I'll change the due date for that Start the Revolutionary Influencers thing. One other thing to remind everybody that I forgot to put in the message. Whenever you post a discussion or a journal, I write back to you. So, oh right, I didn't put your name on the list, Jasmine. I didn't put yours or Morgan's because I knew you wanted to do somebody else. But back to what I was saying about the discussions in the journals, I write back to you on those. So all you need to do is just acknowledge that you've read it. You don't have to write me answer any, you don't necessarily have to answer my questions. You can just look at what I wrote and type gotcha or whatever you want, or thanks lunatic, whatever you want to put, just so I know that you saw it. And then I override the grade to make sure you get full credit for all of those discussions. Now, the scavenger hunt assignment, on the other hand, is the devil incarnate. And I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to get it to behave, and it wouldn't. So I even went into the student preview and tried to do it within the student preview, and it still didn't work. So this right here, some of you have points for this. I think the peer review function is what is malfunctioning. I was looking at the Blackboard Ultra help, and it was not helpful whatsoever. And no one seems to be able to answer my questions about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this assignment. I'm going to make a glossary, and I'm going to give everybody credit for trying. And for those of you who did put responses in the assignment that I can't see because it won't let me look at most of them, you can just email those to me if you would like me to see what you did. That's optional, but I'm happy to take into account your definition, and I'll make the glossary, and like I said, I will just enter all the points manually in Blackboard for your effort to do that. and I won't make any more peer review because it's not a real thing. It's just something that Blackboard put there to make us crazy. I believe I have read all the Wikipedia me's, but keep in mind that you can always turn things in whenever you are ready. So other questions for now? On this video that I made about the influencers, there was a website that made a video that I thought was very helpful, and it was on YouTube. So I just looked up the website to see if it was seemed to be an authentic organization. It was like the Maryland Trust or something. But if you're using PBS or the Women's History Museum or, you know, an identifiable website, you don't have to make an argument for why it's credible. I just want to look at the cards and know that, you know, you thought about the sources you were using. You can use a film, that's a perfectly good source. The reason is that I had a Muslim student a few years ago do a presentation about Islam in early America, and she had this website about Sharia law that presented itself as a Muslim mosque, official Muslim website. And when I looked into the website, it was actually not the Proud Boys, but something like, it was an alt-right organization that made this website to spread misinformation about Islam. So here's this Muslim student saying, I didn't know this about my religion, but it's terrible. And I said, actually, that's not true of your religion. That is the ways that misinformation can purposely appear on the internet. There's, you know, these alt-right organizations, and probably, you know, communist and far-left organizations are really clever in pushing buttons and sucking us in so that we will only believe one perspective on the world. So that's just why I asked you to think about the credibility of your website. You don't have to go into great detail about kind of centrist, obvious websites. So other questions before we talk about stress? Questions about the checklist, let's see.
With the other quizzes that we have already finished, when will you put the correct answers?
Oh, let me show you how to do the correct answers for the quizzes. It should show you.
There was one that it didn't show, and it said the real answers won't be shown until all quizzes are graded.
What?
Something like that.
Okay, do you know which one it was?
I can find it.
Because I've been testing them and they're supposed to show you the answers, but it's not completely obvious as to how
There's the one where we have to list all the names with the pictures.
Okay, let me look, because that's telling me that they're all graded, so I'm going to take a look at it here. Let's see. I would have to do it actually as a student. Let's see. So it's supposed to have unlimited attempts, so I don't know why it's not showing you the correct answers. Let me put this in the mode where it looks like I'm a student. It might be also lying to me about student preview, and when I think I'm seeing the student view, it's really just doing whatever it wants to. Because if I find out that Ultra is just a trial product and I got hornswoggled into using it, I'm probably going to strangle somebody.
Yeah, so who am I quiz?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So when I did the quiz, I also have this thing where you can have a conversation, and if you click the conversation button here, if there's any problem, you can ask your classmates or put something in that I should be able to see about any assignment if it's acting weird. So it's up here, it's in purple. And I have that set up so you can do it for any assignment, but let's see. So this does not have my grade. Submit now. Maybe I have to do it again.
On our screen, it's right in the corner, but it doesn't really let you click it. It doesn't do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there's another example of the fun grades that Blackboard likes to play.
Those are what looks like in the first clip on the quiz.
Let's see, when I'm actually viewing the assessment. So right here is where you should be able to put the conversation stuff. And then you should be able to put something with that purple face. But if that's lying to me, sorry again that Blackboard's making stuff up. Okay, so the first marathon was 84. The RBG was not the first woman. It was Sandra Day O'Connor. That's why I sent you a picture of her. The woman who had become the first learned to use law to attain social justice. Actually, I believe she said that she realized she couldn't use law to attain social justice and she had to use other methods. I think all of these things are what they did to the women. And then, so here we have, I might purposely do some wrong just to see how that comes out. Here's Eleanor, and here's Ida. And here is Phyllis. And is that Abigail Adams or Mary Wollstonecraft? We'll hopefully find out. Sojourner Truth. Okay, why is it already marked? Weirdo. Okay. Oh, they're all Sojourner Truth. I put the Billie Jean King picture because if you know anything about Billie Jean King, she usually looks kind of asexual. She kind of looks difficult to discern her gender, and this is such a girly picture of her that I found it entertaining. So Gloria's apparel, most of you put some version of, she looks like a sex object. Someone made the very important or interesting point that the nun's black outfit was kind of like her black uniform. So, okay, I'm going to submit it. Automated question feedback should be available now. The correct answers are available after all grades are posted. Interesting. Okay, and I did post all the grades yesterday too. Maybe it's because everybody didn't do it. So I'll look into why it does that. The first time I did it, because I try everything, the first time I did it, it let me see all of the attempts. Okay, so now you can see the feedback if there's feedback at least. Okay, yeah, I'll figure that out. Some of these things have changed since the first time I tried them, which is what's making me very skeptical about whether Blackboard is really an actual thing here or whether it's a beta that we probably could go crazy with. So let's move here to the quiz, maybe to help us a little bit with our discussion on the first part of burnout. I guess the timing is really good since Blackboard's been giving everybody a difficult run here. First of all, burnout is about the stress cycle. And if you want a printout of the PDF that goes with the book, because you don't want to write in your book, I made some this morning. The reason I selected this book is because I really like Emily Nagoski's first book. I think it's called Come As You Are, and it's about female sexual response. So her degree is that she has a PhD in, I think, health education. She does really heavy research in scientific data about women's bodies, most specifically. So what she says about women's sexual response in her first book is truly fascinating, because it's just so many things that you don't know about women's bodies that have been tested extensively, and she uses a lot of data, but she doesn't write things in a highly academic voice that makes it difficult to just listen to it and enjoy. So this book is about stress, and it moves into a discussion of the ways that the stress that women face in American culture specifically comes from patriarchal or very male-centered understandings of both our gender roles and how our bodies work. So, for example, I have a niece who is 23 years old, and she's in a graduate program for speech rehabilitation. And she called my sister this summer because she was in the emergency room, and she said she was pretty sure that she had had a ruptured appendix, and she's been in a lot of pain lately, and it seemed like that was the problem, etc. So my sister was texting me in the middle of the night. And long story short, it ended up being a very similar case to what happens to one of the friends that Emily and Amelia Nagoski talk about in the beginning of the book, which is they have a friend, right, who is a music teacher, who ends up in the emergency room. And long story short, she was in the emergency room because she was so stressed out that she was constipated, had to do bowel retraining therapy. But the point here, this is gross, and I know it's Monday morning, the point here is that the stress that we experience has a really powerful impact on our bodies. So men might get ulcers, for example, but for women, the stress effects are often different and more extreme. And historically, the medical community has had this "it's all in your head" response. So have any of you ever known that you were really ill and something was wrong and had the doctor tell you it's something that's all in your head? All right, I'm seeing everybody nod. That's not good. I went to the doctor and said, I have this specific pain on the right side of my abdomen. I'm really scared that I have ovarian cancer. Can you please test me for it, etc. And that was 6 months before I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. So why couldn't she figure out right then that I knew something was wrong? And that's not a stress-related disease as much as other diseases that you all might have. So what happens when you go through a stress cycle, I'm pretty sure is all of these things. And the really important part about stress is that you have to complete the stress cycle. So do any of you regularly do things that you would say help you complete the stress cycle? Can we share strategies here for ways that you complete the stress cycle? Uh-oh, somebody has my dog. My dog is running wild. Okay, no, she's just having a good time. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so let's see. Kiana and Armani and Jasmine. It's important if you all can, physical activity, right. That is definitely one of the recommended methods. What's your favorite method to use when something really stresses you out and you just need to kind of reset yourself?
Playing with animals.
Playing with animals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Morgan. Music, listening to music. It's important when you listen to the music, do you dance too? Because there actually has to be a physical component as much as there can be. Now, obviously, not everybody has the same physical abilities. So let's see what we have here. Physical activity, listening to music, meditation or exercise, and yoga. And I really need to do yoga, let me tell you, Madison, so badly. One of the things that I originally heard about this book, Kiana mentioned sleep. I read a review or heard a review of the book in which somebody said the book pretty much just tells you need to get more sleep. And that is so untrue. So there's a great example of the kind of patriarchal bikini industrial complex. Women have it all in their head and complain too much nonsense that Nagoski takes apart scientifically through the course of this book that, discredits what's a very scientifically and personally valuable book, I think. But yes, sleep is so important. So I have a sleep app, and I get so much less sleep than I thought I did. But yes, counting back from 100 helps during panic attacks, and that is an even more intense experience, being around family and people who you love. So those are some of the multiple strategies that Nagoski recommends. Deep belly laughs, hugs, hugging animals, hugging people. But because of the way she describes the stress cycle as something that it goes back to who we are as human beings, that long ago, we could be attacked by a bear. So we can still be attacked by bears. But in our less highly stressful, ordered lives where we're stressed out by Blackboard, we used to have threats that were like bears. So a bear might attack you today. It's less likely. It's more likely that Blackboard will attack you. So we can just say Blackboard the bear. And she explains how your adrenaline and all of the hormones and all of the energy coursing through your body when something stresses you reacts to a bear the same way it reacts to Blackboard. Therefore, because of the way our bodies developed over time, when you see a bear, you're either going to stand there and die, fight the bear, or run. You have to do something that's physical, and death is not the best physical option, obviously. So it increases your blood pressure, like turning on a fire hose in your blood vessels. However, if you are able to do something to complete the stress cycle, then it will not harm you anywhere near as much. So digestive system, something to let you know you're safe, will help your digestive system, your immune system, your cardiovascular, your musculoskeletal, and your reproductive system to know that it is safe. So this is even with Blackboard. If you need to call me on the phone and scream at me for 5 minutes because Blackboard is stressing you out, I'll just hold up the phone to my children and let them listen to it. It's fine. That will help you complete the stress cycle. But the better ways are, I think possibly the meditation, the deep belly laugh, the yoga, the experiencing your body in a way that is safe and joyful and important to you. And this doesn't sound like hard science, and this doesn't sound like an academic issue. But when you think about the ways that stress can hold you back, and particularly hold women back, it is, I think, a really important issue. So I'm pretty sure this is all of the above as well. So she has the lion chasing you or the jerk at work. What of the following allows you to complete the stress cycle? If you just shoot the lion or shoot the person at work, do you complete the stress cycle? You might think you have, but you don't, because your body doesn't get that kind of cleansing action that you get from the physical, okay, now I'm safe experience of using your body, laughter, meditation to reset your entire body. So some people can meditate and reset their bodies. Some people can laugh really hard and reset their bodies. I need to take a 20-mile bike ride if I have a jerk at work / tiger situation. When you go and do the rational supposed thing, if you do A, if you go to the supervisor and say, next time, can you please help jerk not be so jerky? That does help the situation, but it doesn't actually help your body. You still need to take care of your body. So maybe one of the most important feminist messages that this book offers that we really need to hear more of is you need to take care of your body. And this isn't just about self-care. This is about scientifically proven things that you have to do to take care of yourself. So were you all aware of the importance of completing the stress cycle before you started reading these first few chapters? Were you aware, Morgan? I mean, it's super important, but also, was anybody on virtual, were you aware of this completing the stress cycle mandate? And even if you are aware of it, you're not necessarily going to do it. So we need to kind of spread the word. This is kind of an activism thing where we need to be able to tell each other and support each other. Okay, so you didn't know, but part of the reason I chose this book is I want you to know. USC Upstate students are some of the people who deal with the most stress of anybody I have ever met. Because how many of you work 40 hours a week and try to go to school full time and have family responsibilities? I mean, even if you don't, just being a student is difficult enough because you're adapting to all these demands from different people. Just being a student is difficult enough. But then when you add all of the extra things that so many of you add, if you're the student who put so much pressure on yourself to graduate when you're 20, because I was that student too, you need to. This is an activism issue that I think is a terribly important women's movement issue for today. And in terms of Black women's leaders, I'm sorry that I'm preaching here, but Black women need this message as much, if not more, than anybody else. Forgive me for speaking for Black women. Black women, do you agree or disagree with me that it's a challenge, this stress business? What do you think? You do? You just... Part of the reason is that socially, Black women are expected. Have you ever felt expected to support people, and particularly to be kind with white people's feelings when talking about race, issues like that? Are you familiar? Any of you familiar with any of the extra requirements of being kind and being a human giver that might face Black women? We could take a quick poll here if I knew better how to use. Let me take a quick poll because we have a mixed group here. So I'm going to try to take a poll, and this might help emphasize what I'm seeing a little bit more.
I feel like you feel obligated not to try your best not to offend anybody when you're trying to be honest, but then the other side doesn't understand what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Okay, so Jasmine said that she thinks sometimes women of color have to try harder not to offend people when someone doesn't know exactly what you're talking about. So, this question is for everybody. So here's the poll question. I'm trying to record this on Outlook, or I'm sorry, on something in addition to something better than Blackboard. Okay, so the question is, have you ever tried to explain a complex racial issue and the person that you were trying to explain it to, a person of a different race, started crying?
You want us to log into the poll?
You can, because that makes it a little easier for everybody to hear you, but you don't have to if you just want to say. Okay, well, this is good because so far no one has said that that has happened. And I'm glad to hear so far with the number of women of color that we have in class. I'm glad that so far no one has had that experience, because of my friends who are professors and poets and professionals who are women of color, every single one of them has had somebody start crying, someone of a different race start crying and saying, "Why do you have to be so angry?" Okay, so the backup question to the poll is, anyone has ever asked you why you're so angry or accused you of being angry?
No, but I have like other people, if I try to talk to someone about it who doesn't get it, they try to make it about them a little bit. So like that's really frustrating sometimes, because like it's not about you. Who
Yeah.
I'm talking about, they try to switch around and like talk about their own experiences, but I was like, that's not the point of the conversation.
Right. Every time I try to talk to my sister about Black Lives Matter, because my children are biracial and they consider themselves black and they care about it and I care about it, and I love many, many people to whom this is extremely important, black and white, but more black. She starts Blue Lives Matter. So I'm like, well, yes, I also love my nephew who is a police officer, but these two things are not necessarily related. I mean, police brutality is part of full equality and civil rights, but you know, it's always like there has to be an answer, and it's like a contest.
You're not talking about all cops too. The same thing with my aunt. Her husband's a cop, and we were talking about bad cops. And she got offended saying you're talking bad about my husband. I was like, well, is he a bad cop? No.
Right,
We're
right.
not talking about him.
Yeah. So when we talk about police brutality, any good police officer will tell you that there are bad cops. I mean, go talk to any of the police officers at campus police. They would tell you stories about bad cops. It breaks their heart, not that their feelings are primary in importance, but you know, there are bad cops of all races too. And of course, all lives matter. Duh. When we see a statistical representation of certain lives being in greater jeopardy, we need to pay particularly attention to that group. It's like, it's math. It's not a contest. Math is not a contest. All right, I'm glad that none of you have had anyone burst into tears when you tried to have a civil conversation. That's good. Like I said, I know lots of people that have had that experience. So, the jerk at work, as much as we would like to shoot the jerk at work, I have a jerk at work who offended a group of students and then said stupid things about single mothers. And I'm the sole parent of my children. I'm a single mother. So I went to him and I said, students perceived what you said very negatively. You know, I'm trying to use my best communication skills. And as a single mother myself, I would suggest you rephrase things like that as, and he started crying and hugged me. I was like, oh my God, this is not the outcome I was going for. So, anyway, so you can't shoot them, but you can go for a run, you can yell, you can jump up and down, you can hug your friends and family. So, I tried to make this quiz a little bit more fun too. So when he hugged me, I couldn't punch him. I could report him to the dean, but that would be a much delayed reaction. And it's not socially appropriate to scratch their eyes out or punch them. And although it does complete the stress cycle. So I recommend kickboxing classes. I'm not advocating that we punch anybody. They do show up the next morning, but we can still, so that does make it hard to complete the stress cycle, because when we do the calendars, it's going to be like, why don't we have time to do yoga? A freeze response makes you less likely to feel emotions. I don't remember the answer to that, but I think it's true. And fear and anger, and back to the point I was making, and I hope I did not say anything off key when I said that sometimes, particularly the recognition that Black women deserve to complete the stress cycle. I hope that was taken with the respect I intended it, but part of the point is to be nice, not to be angry. I think, that's kind of a load of crap that gets pushed on all women, but more so on Black women. So when it comes to people, for example, if I say something, if I'm the jerk at work and I say something that is disrespectful or rude or comes across badly, some of the people that have been most gracious to me about that are the people who have to deal with it the most. So you do learn some good skills about being gracious, but still you have to take care of yourself. So I think this generally is true. Sometimes I just copy really important messages from the book and put them in the quiz to make sure that you get the message. And then why true or false? I don't know. So this is probably not going to let us see the answers again, right? Okay, let's see. Match the way of dealing with stress with its description. A creative expression would be maybe dancing, singing, dancing, drawing. Okay, creativity helps. The go response means that you run away or beat the crap out of the person that's stressing you out. The exercise response, I think, is the jumping up and down. The laughter response is my favorite. The affection response is the positive social reaction might be, oh wait, sorry, I mixed it up. Speak to people kindly. So it's interesting that I kind of want to look up all these different ways and strategies that you can complete the stress cycle, because although I miss out on a lot of the fun stress cycle things, that's definitely someone who has my dog, sorry. Hello?
Hello, did you lose your dog?
I have her on a GPS, but I know she's running around because she didn't come back in time for class. Thank you for calling me. Where is she right now?
Like right outside the Kathy Hicks art studio.
Oh, okay. She's okay. I'm going to come and get her in just a couple minutes, so thank you for calling. But she's okay because I have a GPS and she will come to me. Did she come to you?
Yeah, she stopped enough for me to get the phone number. She just
Okay.
ran off again. I didn't want to
Yeah.
like grab her or anything,
Thank
but
you so much for helping her. I really appreciate that.
oh, it's no problem.
I will
Just
get
wanted to
her.
make sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take care of her in just a minute. Thanks for your
You have
help.
a nice day.
You too. Bye bye. Yeah. People think I'm batshit crazy because the dog is doing her own thing all the time, but she was in a cage for 4 years having puppies, so I have to let her have her freedom. All right, anyway. Have you all tried all of these completing the stress cycle methods? Because I thought it was really useful. And then, so this isn't going to tell us the answers until I grade them all. I'll have to figure out how to take care of that. Too long, didn't read. Take lithium, doctor's orders. Talk lovingly, don't repeat. Time lasts, dickheads rot. Sorry for the bad language. Too long, didn't read. I try to make one of the great things that Nagoski does is she has the too long, didn't read list at the end of every chapter, because some of our stress is having too much work to do. So there's the quiz. What we're working on next is go ahead and just do your note cards for the revolutionary influencers. I might have to adjust those due dates a little bit. And there is, in the handout, there is a calendar that you can fill out any way that suits you. And I'm going to do it too, because I think we're going to find out that the only humane thing for me to do would be to, well, you can download the PDF. If you have trouble getting the PDF, this is not a big rush thing to worry about. But for now, if you can work on the stress journal, make sure that you hit me back if I sent you comments, or if you don't see comments in your assignments, let me know and I'll double check that. Sorry about the technical problems causing stress as we study fighting stress. And then with the calendar, I'm going to do that too, and I will post mine publicly. So you can all laugh at me preaching, what do you call it when you preach about something and you don't do it yourself? I'm the pot calling the kettle black, perhaps, in terms of getting enough sleep and completing stress cycle. Any questions before I go get my dog before the animal control comes? Mackenzie, I did assign you a person, but if you would like to choose someone else, that is perfectly okay. And it's possible that although I think next week we are scheduled to move forth at breakneck pace with the revolutionary influencers, I would like you to have fun with that. So if in fact next week we're supposed to have those revolutionary influencers finished up, I'm going to push things ahead a little bit more so we have a little bit more time to work on the stress project. So don't feel stressed about the assignments. Other questions?